The rain that night was heavy. It poured over the city like the sky was crying. Most people had gone home, but one black Mercedes Maybach kept moving slowly through the wet road. Inside sat Chief Damian Okonkwo, a wealthy man in his late 40s, wearing a clean white agbada and gold wristwatch that shone even in the dim light. He had everything: money, cars, businesses, but peace was not one of them. His driver had begged to stay, but Chief said no. He wanted to drive alone. He said he needed to clear his head, but the truth was deeper, his heart was heavy. He had just returned from a charity event where people clapped for him, yet he felt completely empty. The sound of the rain mixed with soft jazz music from his car radio. His eyes looked tired, his thoughts far away. He was not thinking about his companies tonight. He was thinking about the life he never had. A family, a child, laughter in his house. As his car moved past a small bridge near the old Enugu road, he noticed something strange. A small figure stood near the bridge rail, barely visible through the curtain of rain. At first, he thought it was just his imagination. But then he heard it. A cry. A soft, trembling cry. Like a child in pain. Chief Damian slowed the car. He turned down the music and listened carefully. The cry came again, weak and broken, like someone trying not to be heard. He parked by the roadside, opened his umbrella, and stepped out into the rain. Cold wind hit his face immediately. The road was quiet except for the dripping sound of water falling from the bridge. He walked closer. His expensive shoes sank into the muddy ground, but he didn't care. He followed the sound until his phone's flashlight revealed a small boy sitting under the bridge. The boy looked about 7 years old. He was soaked from head to toe, wearing a thin blue shirt and brown shorts that were stuck to his skin. He was holding a small torn school bag tightly to his chest. His eyes were red from crying. Chief Damian froze. For a reason he couldn't explain, his heart began to beat faster. He spoke softly, "Hey, little one, what are you doing here? Where's your mother?" The boy didn't answer. He just stared at the man with wide, frightened eyes. Chief bent down a little so he wouldn't look scary. "It's okay," he said in a calm voice. "I won't hurt you. You shouldn't be out here in the rain." The boy wiped his nose with the back of his hand. "My mummy went to the market," he whispered, "but she hasn't come back." His small voice cracked as he spoke. Chief Damian's chest tightened. He remembered being that young once, lost, waiting, hoping someone would come. "Come," Chief said gently. "Let's go somewhere safe." The boy shook his head quickly. "Mummy said I shouldn't follow strangers." Chief smiled faintly. "That's a good boy. Your mummy taught you well. But look." He took off his wet agbada jacket and wrapped it around the boy's shoulders. "You'll get sick here. My car is just there. I'll help you find her." The boy hesitated, then slowly stood up. His small hand slipped into Chief Damian's, cold and shaking. For a second, the man felt something strange, something he couldn't explain. It was like a connection. Like holding a piece of himself he didn't know was missing. They walked to the car quietly. The rain fell harder now, but Chief didn't care. He opened the back door and helped the boy inside. The heater came on, and the boy sighed in relief as the warmth touched his skin. Chief handed him a clean towel from the back seat. "What's your name?" he asked. The boy rubbed his wet face. "Chidi." Chief repeated the name softly, almost to himself. "Chidi." It felt familiar, though he couldn't remember why. He turned slightly. "Do you know your house? I'll take you home." The boy nodded shyly. "Yes. Near the small market. Behind the old church." Chief started the car again and drove slowly through the rain. Inside the quiet car, only the sound of the wipers filled the space. He looked at the boy through the rear mirror from time to time. Something about that child pulled at his heart. The boy's eyes. The shape of his face. It was like he had seen it before, in another time, in another place. When they reached the area, the boy pointed at a small compound with cracked walls and a leaking roof. "That's where we live," he said softly. Chief parked and followed him to the door. The door opened before they could knock. A woman in her mid-30s came out holding a small kerosene lamp. Her wrapper was old, her face tired but kind. "Chidi," she shouted. "Where have you been?" She pulled the boy close, her hands shaking. "I told you never to go near that bridge." "I was waiting for you," the boy whispered. "You didn't come back." The woman looked up at Chief Damian. Her eyes narrowed instantly. "Who are you?" she asked sharply. Chief raised a hand politely. "Good evening, madam. I found him by the bridge. It was raining." "You found him?" she cut in, suspicion in her voice. "So you just picked children from the road?" Chief tried to stay calm. "No, I just wanted to help." "Thank you," she said quickly, her tone changing to cold politeness. "But we are fine. You can go now." She closed the door halfway, blocking him from seeing inside. Chief hesitated. He wanted to say something more, but the door closed completely. He stood there for a few seconds, rain dripping from his umbrella, before he walked back to his car. Driving home, he couldn't shake the image of the boy's face. There was something about those eyes, the same shape, the same sadness he saw every time he looked in the mirror. That night, Chief Damian couldn't sleep. He sat by his window, listening to the rain, thinking about the boy called Chidi. Why did he feel this way? Why did it hurt to see him cry? And why did it feel like he had just walked into a story that belonged to him long before that night? As he finally closed his eyes, one question refused to leave his mind. Who really was that boy by the bridge? The next morning came with sunlight, but Chief Damian Okonkwo barely noticed it. He had not slept well. All night, his mind kept replaying the face of the small boy he met at the bridge. The boy's wet hair. His scared eyes. His soft voice saying, "My name is Chidi." Chief tried to push it aside. He had business meetings, calls, and appointments waiting. He was a busy man, a billionaire with hundreds of workers. But somehow, that little boy had taken over his thoughts. Even as his secretary handed him files, his mind drifted back to that rainy night. By noon, he gave up pretending to focus. He dropped his pen and said quietly, "Cancel all my meetings for today. I'll be out." His secretary looked surprised. "Sir, you have." "I said cancel them," he said softly but firmly. He stood up, picked his car keys, and left the office. He didn't even know exactly where he was going, only that he needed to see that boy again. The road back to that small area looked different in daylight. The bridge was quiet now, the puddles had dried, and the air smelled of roasted corn from the roadside sellers. He slowed down, scanning the area carefully. A few children were playing with tires. Some women were washing clothes by the gutters. But the boy wasn't there. He drove around slowly, asking people nearby, "Please, do you know a small boy named Chidi who lives near this bridge?" Most people shook their heads. Some looked suspicious, thinking he was up to something. Finally, one old man sitting under a mango tree said, "Ah, small Chidi? The one that lives with that woman who sells akara near the old church?" Chief nodded quickly. "Yes, that one." The old man pointed. "Follow that road straight. The second compound by the right." Chief thanked him and followed the direction. The area was rough, small houses packed close together, clothes hanging on lines, children chasing chickens. He stopped his car outside a narrow gate. From inside, he heard a familiar voice, the same woman from last night. She was shouting at someone, probably the boy. "Chidi! You don't go anywhere without telling me. You hear me?" Chief smiled faintly. He got out of the car and walked to the gate. Before he could knock, the woman opened it, carrying a small bowl of beans cake to fry. She froze when she saw him. Her face tightened instantly. "You again?" she asked sharply. "What do you want?" Chief spoke gently. "Madam, please. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just came to check on the boy. He looked so scared yesterday." She sighed and shook her head. "You rich people, you don't know how to mind your business. You have cars and money. Why don't you just drive away?" "I couldn't," he said quietly. "I couldn't stop thinking about him." She looked at him carefully now. There was something in his eyes, sincerity, not pride. But she still didn't trust him. "Fine," she said finally. "He's inside. But don't stay long." Chief nodded and stepped inside. The compound was small, cracked walls, a few buckets, a wooden bench. Chidi was sitting on a stool, cleaning his small shoes with a wet rag. When he looked up and saw Chief, his face lit up. "Uncle!" he shouted, running to him. Chief smiled wide for the first time that day. He knelt and opened his arms. "Hey, Chidi!" The boy hugged him tightly, his small hands wet with soap water. The woman watched them from the door, arms crossed, face unreadable. Chief sat on the bench while Chidi talked non-stop. He talked about his school, his friends, and how he wanted to be a pilot one day. Chief listened, smiling, amazed by how freely the boy spoke to him. It felt right. Like something he had been missing was now complete. When it was time to leave, Chief said softly, "Can I visit again?" Before the boy could answer, the woman stepped forward. "No," she said quickly. "We don't need visitors. We're fine." Chief looked at her, surprised by her tone. He stood up slowly. "All right. I understand." Then he looked down at Chidi. "Be good, my boy." The boy nodded sadly. Chief left the compound and got into his car. As he drove away, he saw the boy standing by the gate, waving with a small smile. The woman pulled him back inside quickly. That night, Chief Damian couldn't stop thinking. Why was the woman so cold? Why did she look at him like he was a threat? And why did that child feel like someone he already knew? He didn't have answers. But something deep in his heart told him this wasn't over. Something about that boy was calling him back. The next day, he returned again. This time, the woman didn't even open the gate. "Madam, please," he called softly. "I just came to give Chidi something." "Go away," she shouted from inside. "We don't want your gifts." "Please," he insisted, "it's just a school bag and books." The gate swung open suddenly, and she pointed her finger at him. "I said go away, before I call people. What do you want from us? You think because you have money you can do anything?" Chief was shocked by her anger. "Madam, please. I mean no harm." "Liar! You're a kidnapper," she shouted. Her voice grew loud, and neighbors started looking out. "You're targeting my boy. You think I don't see it? Go before I scream louder." Chief slowly stepped back, embarrassed and confused. People whispered around him. He got into his car and drove away quietly. But even as he left, he could still hear the boy's small voice calling from behind the gate. "Uncle Damian! Don't go!" That night, he sat in his living room staring at the ceiling. No business call could distract him. No music, no movie. Just that voice in his head. He poured himself a drink but didn't touch it. He thought of his own childhood, how his father was never there, how he grew up with no love. He had sworn that if he ever had a child, he'd never be that kind of man. And yet here he was, feeling connected to a boy who wasn't even his. He looked out the window again. The sky was clear tonight. No rain. No thunder. But deep inside, the same storm that started by the bridge was still raging. He whispered to himself, "I don't know who you are, little boy, but something tells me our paths are not done yet." Days passed, but Chief Damian Okonkwo couldn't stop thinking about the boy named Chidi. He tried to focus on work, but every time he picked up a document, the boy's face appeared in his mind. Every night, before sleep, he saw those bright, curious eyes. He had met many people in his life, powerful business partners, politicians, famous men, but none had left this kind of mark on him. It was strange. It was deep. And it refused to fade away. So one Saturday morning, he decided to go back again. He told himself he wasn't going to cause trouble. He just wanted to see if the boy was all right. He parked his car a few streets away from the compound so the woman wouldn't chase him off again. He bought a few groceries, rice, beans, fruits, and walked quietly through the small path that led to their house. The sun was hot that day. Children ran around playing football with a bundle of nylon. Mothers were selling roasted plantain by the road. When he reached the gate, he didn't knock. He waited quietly, hoping to catch a glimpse of the boy. And then, he saw him. Chidi came out carrying a small bucket, heading to fetch water. He was wearing a faded blue shirt and slippers too big for his feet. Chief smiled softly. The boy hadn't seen him yet. He waited till Chidi walked past the gate before he spoke gently. "Chidi!" The boy turned and his face lit up with joy. "Uncle Damian," he shouted happily. Chief quickly put a finger on his lips. "Shh. Let's not make noise, okay?" The boy ran to him, smiling from ear to ear. "I told my auntie you will come again," he said proudly. "She didn't believe me." Chief chuckled. "And now she will know you were right." He helped the boy carry the small bucket. They walked together toward the water pump, chatting like old friends. When they reached the pump, Chief Damian knelt beside him to help draw the water. As the boy bent forward, something caught his eye, a small birthmark on the boy's right arm, just near the elbow. It was shaped like a tiny half-moon. Chief froze. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. It was the exact same birthmark he had on his own arm, same shape, same spot. For a moment, his hands shook. He didn't know why, but his heart started pounding fast. Could it be just coincidence? He whispered to himself, "No, it can't be." He pulled his sleeve slightly and looked at his own arm. The same mark stared back at him. He turned to Chidi and forced a smile. "Hey, do you know how you got that mark?" Chidi looked at his arm. "This? My auntie said I was born with it." Chief's throat felt dry. He wanted to ask more, but before he could, the boy's aunt appeared in the distance. She was walking fast, her eyes already angry. "Chidi," she shouted. "Who told you to leave the house?" The boy flinched. "Auntie, I was just fetching water." Her eyes turned to Chief Damian, and her face hardened instantly. "You again," she snapped. "What are you doing here?" Chief stood up slowly. "Madam, Didn't I warn you to stay away from us?" she screamed. She dropped her basket and rushed toward them. "Are you following us now? You want to steal this boy?" Chief raised his hands calmly. "Please, calm down. I'm not following anyone. I just—" "Liar," she shouted. "You rich people think everyone is helpless. Go before I call the police." People nearby had started watching. Murmurs filled the air. Chief took a step back, trying not to escalate things. "All right," he said softly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble." The woman pulled Chidi close and pushed him toward the gate. "Go inside. Now." Chidi looked back at Chief with teary eyes. "Uncle, please don't go angry." Chief smiled faintly. "I'm not angry, my boy." He watched them walk away, the woman holding the boy tightly as if afraid to lose him. That night, Chief couldn't rest. He sat on his bed with his laptop open, but his mind was far away. He kept seeing that birthmark. The same shape. The same place. The same childlike face he had never forgotten. He thought back to his younger days, the mistakes, the wild nights, the short relationships. Could it be possible that somewhere in his past, he had a child he never knew about? He tried to remember, but the memories were scattered. There was one woman, years ago, whose name he could barely recall. A brief moment that never became anything serious. He closed his eyes and whispered, "No, it can't be. That boy can't be mine." But deep inside, something told him it might be true. The next day, the woman sat alone in her small room, staring at an old photo in her hands. It was a picture of her late sister and a young man smiling together in a club. The man was younger then, but there was no mistake. It was Chief Damian. Her sister had given her that picture years ago, saying, "If anything happens to me, take care of my baby. The father doesn't know I'm pregnant. But one day, you'll know him when you see his face." Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Oh, my sister, what have you done to me?" She looked out the window and saw Chief's car slowly driving past again. Her heart raced. He was still looking for them. He hadn't given up. She gripped the photo tightly. "If he finds out," she muttered, "he'll take Chidi away from me. I can't let that happen." She stood up quickly and hid the photo in a box under her bed. Then she called out sharply, "Chidi! From today, you don't talk to that man again, do you hear me?" The boy frowned. "But, Auntie, he's nice." "I said no," she snapped. "He's not nice. He's a bad man. If he talks to you again, run." The boy looked down sadly. "Okay, Auntie." Meanwhile, Chief Damian started going back to the bridge every few days, hoping to see Chidi again. Sometimes he parked there for hours, just watching people pass. Other times, he drove around the market area, pretending to buy things, just to catch a glimpse of the boy. But the woman had become careful. She changed the boy's school route, stopped him from playing outside, and even started selling her akara in a different corner of the market. She did everything to make sure the rich man would never find them again. Still, Chief didn't stop. Something stronger than reason kept pulling him back. Every time he drove near that area, he felt a strange peace. He didn't know why, but it was like his heart lived there now. One evening, as he was driving home, he saw a small figure walking by the roadside carrying books. It was Chidi. Chief's heart jumped. He stopped the car and got out quickly. "Chidi," he called. The boy turned, surprised, but before he could smile, a voice shouted from behind. "Kidnapper! Kidnapper!" It was the woman again, running toward them. People turned immediately, gathering around. Chief froze, embarrassed. The crowd started murmuring, some already picking up stones. He raised his hands. "Please, everyone calm down. I know this boy. I'm not a kidnapper." But the woman was already crying loudly. "He's trying to take my boy. Help me." The noise grew louder. Chief's driver, who had been sitting in the car, rushed out and tried to explain. "It's a mistake. My ogre is not that kind of person." But no one listened. The crowd began shouting, pushing closer. It was the local head of the area, an old man named Baba Ibeji, who came to calm things. He recognized Chief from the news and ordered everyone to stop. The crowd slowly dispersed, leaving behind tension and silence. The woman grabbed Chidi and pulled him away, crying. Chief stood there, humiliated, heartbroken, and more confused than ever. As he drove home that night, his mind was full. Why was she so afraid? What was she hiding? And why did that little boy still feel like a part of him? He didn't have answers. But he knew one thing for sure, he wasn't giving up. Not until he found out the truth. The days turned into weeks, and the tension between Chief Damian Okonkwo and the woman kept growing. Every time he tried to help, she fought him. Every time he showed kindness, she saw danger. Yet still, he couldn't stay away. Something about that small boy named Chidi refused to leave his heart. The boy's laughter. The way he called him Uncle Damian, in that soft innocent voice. It played in his mind like music he couldn't forget. He had tried everything, sending gifts, talking politely, even giving the woman space, but nothing worked. Whenever he appeared, she turned cold. And soon, her anger became louder. One morning, Chief Damian parked a little distance away from their house again. He brought a small lunch bag for the boy, rice, stew, and a few sweets. He wanted to surprise him after school. But as he waited outside the small gate, the woman saw him first. She dropped the basket she was carrying and shouted, "You again? Haven't I warned you?" Her voice was loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. People turned, curious. Chief tried to calm her. "Madam, please. I'm not here to fight. I only came to check on the boy." She stormed closer. "Don't you get tired of disturbing us? Leave my compound before I call the police." "I mean no harm," Chief said softly. "I just wanted to give him food. That's all." "Food?" she screamed. "You think we can't feed ourselves? You want to steal him, ABI? Madam, please." "Kidnapper," she shouted suddenly. "Everybody come and see. Oh. This man wants to kidnap my boy." Her voice echoed through the street. People started gathering again, just like before. Chief froze, embarrassed, as neighbors peeked out from doors. Some whispered. Others laughed quietly. He could see disappointment in their eyes. Nobody believed his calm words. He took a step back. "All right. I'll go." But his voice shook with pain. He dropped the small food bag by the gate and walked away quietly while the woman shouted behind him. "Don't come back here again. You hear me? Don't ever come near my boy." She slammed the gate shut, breathing heavily. Inside, Chidi stood by the window, eyes full of tears. He had heard everything. Later that evening, The boy sneaked out quietly with the same lunch bag that Chief had dropped. He sat by the roadside, opened it, and saw the neatly packed food. There was a small note on top that said, "Eat well, my boy. I'll always look out for you. Uncle Damian." Chidi smiled weakly, tears mixing with his rice. He didn't understand why his aunt hated the man so much. He just knew that the man was kind, kinder than anyone he had ever met. Meanwhile, Chief Damian sat in his car, parked under a mango tree, thinking about everything. He felt foolish. A whole billionaire, being shouted at like a thief in the street. But strangely, he didn't care about pride anymore. He only cared about the boy. "Why does she hate me so much?" he whispered to himself. "What is she hiding?" He didn't know that the woman was inside her small room, crying too. She held an old photo in her hands again, her late sister smiling beside a younger version of Chief Damian. Her heart was heavy with fear. She remembered her sister's dying words clearly. "Promise me you'll take care of my son. Don't ever let his father take him away. He doesn't even know I was pregnant." And she had promised. Now, years later, here was that same man standing at her gate. Wealthy, powerful, and maybe ready to take away the only child she had left in her life. She whispered, "I can't lose him. I won't." The next few days, things got worse. She began hiding Chidi every time she saw Chief's car. Sometimes she sent him to stay with a neighbor. Other times she locked the gate and told the boy to stay silent until the man left. One day, Chief waited near the market hoping to catch them as they returned home. When he saw the boy, he smiled and waved. But before Chidi could even wave back, the woman shouted again, "Kidnapper! Help! This man again!" People turned sharply. Chief froze, feeling everyone's eyes on him. He raised his hands helplessly, voice calm but broken. "I'm not a kidnapper." The woman grabbed the boy's hand and dragged him away, shouting insults the whole time. Chief just stood there, watching them disappear into the crowd. He felt like someone had squeezed his heart. That night, Chief couldn't eat. He sat by his window, staring into the dark city below. He remembered his own childhood, how his father left and never came back. He remembered how much he hated that feeling of being unwanted. And now, for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt the same pain again, but for a child that wasn't his. He whispered, "Why do I care this much?" But deep inside, he already knew the answer. Something about that boy was part of him. Something he didn't understand yet. Days turned into weeks. Still, Chief didn't give up. He continued visiting the area, even if he had to stay in his car far away just to see the boy walk to school. He sent money secretly through a shopkeeper for the boy's lunch and schoolbooks, but he never told anyone it was from him. Every time the boy smiled, it gave him peace. Every time the woman shouted at him, it gave him strength to try again tomorrow. He didn't know it yet, but those small acts of kindness would one day change everything. One afternoon, the woman collapsed at her market stall. She had been coughing for days but refused to rest. The people around rushed to help her. Chidi cried and called for help, "Somebody please help my auntie." And as fate would have it, Chief Damian's car was passing that same road. He stopped immediately when he saw the small crowd. He came out and saw Chidi kneeling beside the woman, crying. Without thinking, he rushed forward. "What happened?" he asked quickly. The boy sobbed. "My auntie fell down. She can't talk." Chief bent down, checked her pulse, and turned to his driver. "Open the car door, now. We're going to the hospital." He lifted the weak woman gently into his arms and carried her to his car while people watched in shock. The same woman who called him kidnapper was now in his care. And as the car sped off toward the hospital, the small boy held her hand tightly and whispered through tears, "Uncle Damian, please save her." Chief looked at the boy through the mirror, his heart breaking again. "I'll do everything I can, my boy. I promise." What happened next would change all their lives forever. The hospital was quiet that evening. Only the soft hum of ceiling fans and the smell of medicine filled the air. Chief Damian Okonkwo sat beside the hospital bed, watching the woman breathe weakly through her oxygen tube. It had been hours since they arrived. Doctors said she collapsed because of stress and untreated fever. The woman's skin looked pale, her eyes tired. She was fighting to stay awake. Beside the bed sat Chidi, the little boy, holding her hand tightly. His eyes were red from crying. "Uncle Damian," he whispered, "is my auntie going to die?" Chief reached out gently, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "No, my boy. She's going to be fine. She just needs rest." He said it softly, but deep down, he was scared too. He didn't want this woman to die, not after everything that had happened between them. When the doctor came back, he spoke to Chief privately. "Sir, we have stabilized her for now. But she needs medicine, tests, and at least a few days of care." Chief nodded. "Do everything you need to. I'll handle the bills." The doctor looked surprised. "She's not your relative." Chief shook his head. "She's someone I owe a lot." And without another word, he went straight to the cashier and paid for everything. For 2 days, Chief stayed by her side. He brought food for Chidi, cleaned the small room, and made sure she took her medicine on time. The nurses began whispering to each other. "Who is that man? They say he's a big man in town. But he's sitting there like a husband who can't leave his wife." Chief didn't care what anyone said. All he wanted was for her to get better. Every morning, he came early with fresh flowers and breakfast for Chidi. Every night, he left last, after making sure she was comfortable. The boy followed him everywhere, always talking, always smiling. And for the first time in years, Chief felt something he hadn't felt before: peace. On the third morning, the woman opened her eyes fully for the first time. When she saw Chief Damian sitting by her bed, she looked confused. Her voice was weak. "Why are you here?" Chief smiled softly. "Because you needed help." Her eyes filled with tears. "After all I said to you, after everything I did." He shook his head gently. "Don't think about that. Just rest. You need your strength." She wiped her eyes slowly. "You shouldn't have done all this." Chief smiled faintly. "Maybe I shouldn't. But I wanted to." There was silence between them for a moment, soft, peaceful silence. Then she whispered, "Thank you." Chief nodded. "You're welcome." And in that moment, something changed. The wall between them began to break. A few days later, she was strong enough to walk again. The doctor said she could go home soon. Before they left, Chief went to the hospital's small canteen and brought her and Chidi a proper meal: rice, stew, and cold drinks. It was the first time in years she had eaten something so good. "Wow!" Chidi said with his mouth full, laughing. "Auntie, this is the best rice ever." She smiled weakly, shaking her head. "Eat slowly, you'll choke." Chief laughed softly. "Let him eat. He's been through a lot." For the first time, the three of them laughed together. The tension that once filled the air was gone, replaced with something warm. When it was time to leave, Chief offered to drive them home. She refused at first, but he insisted. So she finally agreed. Inside the car, Chidi talked non-stop about his school, his friends, and how he wanted to learn how to drive someday. Chief smiled at every word. When they reached the small compound, the woman turned to him. "Thank you for everything. You've done enough already." Chief smiled. "Don't thank me yet. You both are coming with me tomorrow." She frowned. "To where?" "Lunch," he said simply. "You and Chidi deserve a good meal outside." She opened her mouth to protest, but he was already driving away. She couldn't help but smile a little. The next day, Chief arrived in his white Mercedes Maybach again. This time, Chidi ran out of the house first, jumping in excitement. "Auntie, hurry! Uncle Damian is here." She laughed softly and shook her head. She had borrowed a clean gown from her neighbor and tied her hair neatly. For the first time in years, she felt like a woman again, not just a struggling aunt. When she stepped out, Chief looked at her and smiled politely. "You look different today." She blushed a little. "It's just this dress." "Still," he said, opening the car door for her, "it suits you." They went to a nice restaurant in town. The waiters greeted Chief with respect, but he asked them to treat his guests like family. They sat by a window where sunlight poured in. Chidi's eyes were wide with wonder as he looked around. "This place is beautiful," he whispered. Chief laughed. You deserve beautiful things, my boy. As they ate, the woman kept stealing glances at Chief. He was gentle, kind, and respectful. Nothing like the proud, arrogant rich men she had imagined him to be. At one point, Chidi dropped his spoon and giggled. Uncle Damian, you eat like auntie. You even cut your meat the same way. They both laughed, but Chief paused quietly, remembering the birthmark on the boy's arm. He looked at them both, the boy and the woman, and felt something powerful in his chest. It was peace, love, and confusion all mixed together. From that day, everything began to change. Chief started visiting them more often. He would stop by the market, buy her lunch, or drive Chidi to school when it rained. The neighbors who once mocked her started whispering different things now. Who is that man? Maybe he's her brother. No, oh, they say he's helping her business. But the truth was simpler. Chief Damian was happy when he was around them. He hadn't smiled this much in years. He brought laughter back into their home, and in return, they gave him something money could never buy, peace of heart. Sometimes, when he was about to leave, the woman would say, "You've done enough, Chief. You should rest from helping us." He'd smile and reply, "I'm not helping you, Ngozi. I'm helping myself." And she'd look at him quietly, her heart melting more each day. Weeks passed. Her health returned fully. Her market stall grew because Chief secretly paid her rent for a year. And one evening, as they sat outside watching Chidi play with a paper plane, Chief said softly, "Life is funny, isn't it? Sometimes we find peace in the last place we expect." She smiled. "Yes. Sometimes, what we run from is what we actually need." They looked at each other for a long moment. No words, just quiet understanding. Something had changed between them, and they both knew it. And just as the sun slowly disappeared behind the rooftops, Chidi ran to them, laughing loudly. "Uncle Damian! Auntie Ngozi! Look, my plane can fly!" They both looked up and smiled. For the first time, it didn't feel like three strangers anymore. It felt like family. What happened next was something neither of them planned, but both their hearts had been waiting for. Months passed after the hospital incident. Life became brighter for all three of them, Chief Damian Okonkwo, the woman named Ngozi, and the little boy Chidi. They were no longer strangers tied by chance. They were becoming a family bound by love they couldn't fully explain. Every weekend, Chief visited their small house. Sometimes he brought groceries. Other times, he just sat with them, eating simple food and laughing like an ordinary man. He stopped feeling like the lonely billionaire people saw on TV. He started feeling like a man who had found peace again. Chidi loved every moment with him, playing games, riding in his car, or listening to stories about airplanes and cities he had never seen. And Ngozi, she found herself smiling again, something she hadn't done in years. One evening, as they walked back from the market together, Chief turned to her and said softly, "Ngozi, you know, you've changed my life." She laughed. "How? I don't even have anything to give you." He smiled gently. "You gave me something money can't buy. You gave me family." Her laughter faded into a quiet smile. Something in her heart melted. She had fought so hard to keep this man away, but now she didn't know how to live without him around. As months went by, the bond between them grew stronger. Chief started picking Chidi up from school, taking him out for ice cream, and teaching him how to ride a small bicycle in his mansion yard. The staff at his home loved the boy, the gardener, the cook, even his driver. The house that used to echo with silence now rang with laughter every evening. And one day, after dinner, Chief looked at Ngozi and said, "I don't want to keep pretending anymore. I love you." She froze. For a moment, her spoon fell from her hand. "Chief, please," she said softly. "Don't say that." "I mean it," he continued. "You and Chidi have given me something I thought I lost forever. I want you both in my life. I want us to be a family." Tears filled her eyes. She wanted to say yes, her heart wanted it, but a small voice in her head whispered the truth she had hidden for years. A truth that could destroy everything if spoken too soon. She wiped her tears quickly and smiled weakly. "Let's not talk about that now." Chief smiled back. "All right. I'll wait. But my heart won't change. Weeks later, he proposed to her. It was simple, quiet, and beautiful. In the same small compound where they first met, he knelt before her and said, "I've built many houses, but none ever felt like home until I met you. Marry me, Ngozi." The neighbors clapped and shouted in excitement. Even Chidi jumped up and down shouting, "Say yes, auntie. Say yes." She laughed and cried at the same time. Finally, she nodded. "Yes. I'll marry you." That night, Chief's mansion was full of joy. Preparations began immediately for the wedding. Everyone was happy, everyone except Ngozi, who carried a secret that grew heavier each day. She watched Chief Damian and Chidi play together, saw how much they looked alike, how they smiled the same way, how they even tilted their heads in the same direction when thinking. It was no longer coincidence. It was truth staring her in the face. She remembered the promise she made to her late sister, never to tell the man about the child. But how long could she keep that secret now? The night before the wedding, she couldn't sleep. The rain began to fall softly outside, the same way it did the night Chief first found Chidi by the bridge. She sat by the window, her heart heavy. When Chief came into the room, he saw her crying quietly. He walked closer and said softly, "Ngozi, what's wrong? Are you scared about tomorrow?" She shook her head slowly. "No, Chief. I'm scared about something else." He sat beside her. "Talk to me." She looked at him, tears rolling down her cheeks. "There's something I've been hiding from you. Something I should have told you long ago." Chief frowned slightly. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "Chidi, he's not my son." He froze. "What?" She nodded, trembling. "He's my sister's child. My only sister, Amora. She died 7 years ago." Chief's eyes widened. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't know. But why didn't you tell me?" Her voice broke. "Because of what I'm about to tell you next." She picked up an old envelope from her bag and handed it to him. Inside was a faded photograph. A picture of a young man and woman smiling together in a club years ago. Chief looked closer, and his hands started shaking. It was him. Younger, carefree, and laughing beside a woman, the same eyes as Chidi, the same smile. "This was my sister," Ngozi said, crying. "She told me she met you just once at a friend's party. She got pregnant after that night, but she never saw you again. She tried to reach you but didn't even know your real name. When she died, she gave me this picture and told me to take care of her baby, and never let his father take him away." Chief's voice was barely a whisper. That means Chidi is..." She nodded slowly. "Your son." The room fell silent. The rain outside grew heavier, beating against the windows. Chief sat there, lost, his hands trembling, his eyes full of shock and emotion. His voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" "Because I was scared," she said softly. "You're rich, powerful. I thought if you knew, you'd take him from me. I couldn't bear losing him too." Chief stood slowly, breathing heavily. He turned away, then looked back at her. "You should have told me," he said, voice shaking. "But..." He paused, wiping his eyes. "I can't hate you. You did what you thought was right." She sobbed. "I'm sorry, Chief. I'm so sorry." He took a deep breath and walked closer, pulling her into a gentle hug. "No more secrets," he whispered. "Tomorrow, we'll start a new life, together." The next day, the mansion was full of music, laughter, and color. Friends, family, and workers gathered to celebrate the big wedding. As the priest finished the ceremony, Chief stood and took the microphone. His voice was calm but emotional. "There's something I want everyone here to know," he said. "This young boy here," he pointed at Chidi, who stood shyly beside Ngozi, "is not just my son in heart. He is my son by blood. I didn't know for years, but God brought him back to me in the strangest way. And today, I thank heaven for both of them." The crowd gasped, then began clapping loudly. His mother, sitting in the front row, wiped her tears and walked to the boy, hugging him tightly. Chidi looked up at Chief with watery eyes and whispered, "So, you're my real daddy?" Chief smiled, kneeling down to his level. "Yes, my boy. I'm your father." The boy smiled and hugged him tightly, whispering, "I knew it." The crowd cheered louder. Ngozi stood beside them, crying and smiling at the same time. It was a moment of healing, of love, of family reborn. That night, after the party, Chief stood outside his balcony watching the stars. The house was full of laughter again. For the first time in years, he wasn't lonely anymore. He whispered to himself, "Sometimes life takes us through storms just to bring us home." From inside, Chidi called out, "Daddy, come and eat cake before Auntie finishes it." Chief laughed and turned around. He walked back inside, toward love, toward family, toward the life he never knew he needed. And just like that, the man who once drove alone in the rain found the two people who finally made his world complete. Life has a strange way of bringing us back to the people we were meant to find. Chief Damian Okonkwo never imagined that the little boy he helped on a rainy night was his own flesh and blood. And Ngozi, the woman who once called him a stranger, became the peace his heart had searched for all these years. In the end, forgiveness healed what anger broke, and love rebuilt what time almost destroyed. Remember this. Sometimes, the people who push us away the hardest are the ones protecting us from their pain. Be kind. Be patient. Destiny always finds its way home. Thank you for watching this story. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because more emotional African stories are coming your way. Stay tuned and stay inspired.